Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Lynn Green. She is the author and a consultant with over 20 years in criminal justice and public service. So we'll explore with her the intersection of deep personal healing and professional impact, truly what discussing what it truly takes to break cycles you didn't create, how to lead with faith and boundaries in messy situations, and how to turn pain into purpose without burning out. Welcome to the show, Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It is quite a pleasure to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Glenn. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about healing and generational cycles. We'll talk about all this. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much. And thank you for creating this space. I think it's really important for leaders and just people in general. A little bit about me. I am Lynn Green, born Lynn Mary Bernabe. I've since gotten married and adopted the Green name. But I was born in Puerto Rico, and my family is from the Dominican Republic, and I was raised by and under this Caribbean culture by a very strong-willed, independent mother. And so our journey actually started a little rocky because my mother had some relational issues with my biological father, and they were involved in some domestic dispute, and she ended up making the decision to pack up all her things and leave because it was to the benefit of our growth and our family. So we migrated here very early on. I was about 4 years old. And so I did not speak the English language. I learned that here. And I always talk about, I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with Sesame Street, the program. And at that time, that was a learning program for kids. And I was glued to the TV to try to learn any English word I could before I actually started school. I've always had a love for people, for helping others. And so that naturally made me enter into the world of public service. And I have been serving the public ever since. But through that, I developed a lot of overachieving tendencies because of some trauma that I had experienced as a child and the difficulty and relationship I had with my mother and feeling like I had to constantly prove myself. That pretty much created a character in me that I had to, get things done and earn her love in some way. So a lot of my journey is trying to help people overcome from that over functioning, and the importance of mindset and how that helps you become a better leader.
Absolutely, Lynn. So that people can learn out of your journey, how did you solve your problems with all the things of the past and move forward and now helping others too?
I think it was important for me to understand that everything that I had gone through was for a purpose. And I'm a big believer in that things don't happen coincidentally. I think people go through experiences in life, and while they're living it, they don't recognize it. But once they've come through it is our responsibility to then help others to be able to overcome those difficulties. I think having that understanding, it was all the more important for me to help others heal through difficulties that I may have even experienced myself.
Absolutely. So, to understand it from a common person's perspective, what is it that you are trying to do? What is it that you want to say?
Yeah, so overall, my goal is to develop and create environments where people can thrive, whether that's personally, relationally, as we're relating to other people. And that could be within our families, within our friendships, in business, and just create an understanding of, that sustainable leaders do things differently, that overfunctioning is not the same as success, and that mindsets ultimately shape systems and culture and outcomes. And so I think it's important to be able to have an understanding of the cost of ignoring emotional and social resilience in a way that will ultimately impact our lives overall.
Absolutely. So for leaders, you brought in leaders also, and let's look at it from generational cycles from a common person's perspective also. Especially for leaders, do they need to first take care of the generational issues and then think of leadership, or first they can think of leadership and then later on they can take care of the issues that they have?
Yeah, it's one of those questions. There's a saying that says, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? What do you focus on first before you actually move forward? I think before you start anything at all, you have to have an understanding of your own identity. Why are you reaching for this goal? Why is it important for you to reach that success? Have an understanding of the core value that you have on this specific goal or this dream, and have an understanding ultimately for the kind of person you are. We have seen time and time again people who are leaders who lead well, and then there are people who are leaders who lead horribly. And so if we're in business or we're leaders within our family, we have to first identify the issues that we have within ourselves that could ultimately impact the responsibility that you have among all these other people. So I think it's important to scale impact responsibly. So it's not something that you say, oh, today I'm going to start a business. What business is it, and why do you want to start that business? Is your drive generational wealth? Is your drive just success? And why? There's always, people say all the time, find your why, but even beyond your why is find an understanding of who you are and how that person is going to impact those goals.
Absolutely. So, Lynn, tell us a bit about, breaking generational cycles. How should a common person understand about breaking generational cycles? They're so busy in their bread and butter, finding the right kind of job. It becomes too much of a burden to think about anything else. How do you want them to understand it?
So generational cycles is such a broad issue, right? I think if we look at it in the perspective of where did I come from? Why am I the way I am? And who I came from, why are they the way they are? And how did their behaviors impact me and the way I move along in life? So I'll give you an example. My mother was not she was a responsible mother, she was a loving mother, but she was not attentive, right? So I was the kind of child that felt like I needed to constantly do something to make her proud, to get some kind of a response, and some kind of closeness with her. I learned that her mother was that way with her as well. What that created in me was someone that needed to be perfect, needed to accomplish all the things, needed to be able to people please. And so what that did into my future as I developed, whether it was in education or in business, is I still had those same core values and beliefs, and my personality was still, well, I need to, people please. I need to be a people pleaser. I need to make sure everyone is happy. And if we know the equation in business is you cannot make everybody happy. So what you'll do with that understanding, if you come into business in that way, is you will burn yourself out. It will not be a pleasant experience, and you will constantly be fighting against the will, so to speak, of what ultimately a business plan is supposed to be. You have to be able to remove yourself and your tendencies that are going to negatively affect your business. And so I think if we think about it that way, really analyze the things that we have been through and how we don't want to carry on sometimes those negative ways of being into our lives, we will understand better how generational cycles affect us ultimately in life in general and in business.
Of course, Lynn. So, if I understand it also, how do I break those cycles that I didn't create myself?
It's important to be honest with yourself. Really taking the time to sit with our own emotions, the smallest things. For instance, you will find that sometimes as you carry on through the day, there will be certain things that trigger you, some certain things that bother you. And sometimes if you have this emotional maturity, you'll sit in that space and say, why is this bothering me so much? um, it's understanding that sometimes you have to be still in order to recognize how certain things affect your decisions, your every move, your speech, your understanding, and how that ultimately builds you up or it can break you down. So I think it's important to spend that time in stillness and be able to really concentrate on how is what I'm doing every day serving me, or how is it not?
Absolutely. How do I, use my faith, or what role does faith play in this particular healing of my trauma, generational trauma?
Major role. I don't believe, regardless of what your faith or your belief system is, I do not believe that you can accomplish anything unless you have some faith. And let's just talk about faith in the context of what it is. It's a belief in something other than yourself. So when you remove yourself from the equation and you say, this is something that I believe I'm being called to, you have more confidence in reaching that and moving forward with that. So for me, it's important to continue to bridge business, faith, mental wellness, and advocacy, in order to be successful. And that's what I work so hard at.
Absolutely. Now let's learn a bit from your book. Enough with the secrets, Mama. Tell us a bit about the book. What is it that people can learn from your book about what we are talking about?
So my book is, it's a story of a mother-daughter relationship issues. And even though it focuses on my relationship with my mother, the difficulties that we had in that relationship, it ultimately is a guide for women to be able to heal from that maternal heartache and still find success in their journey. I think it's interesting because the title itself is Enough with the Secrets, Mama. And so I think as far as secrets are concerned here, I want people to understand that it's more so the things that that our parents keep from us as a way to protect us, eventually what it does is create a self-perceived neglect perspective, so to speak. And so my book pretty much outlines our life from the moment, my mother was born into the family that she was born in, and how her shaping of herself within her early childhood and into her adulthood really shaped the mother that she became, and how that in turn affected me, but how I was able to overcome that and the ways that I was able to do that. So my hope is that for those who receive, who are able to get this book, that they find healing in that space too. And I also want to mention that, when I did a book signing at Barnes and Noble, and I was surprised to see a few men in line waiting to receive a book. And the men told me it was important for them to be able to receive and read this because they were married to the women who were experiencing these issues, and how their relationship with their mother ultimately affected their relationship as husband and wife. So I think it's important for everyone, beyond mother and daughter. I think men are also going to learn a lot from this book.
Absolutely. I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more from you, about you, learn from your book. What is the best way for them to do so, Lynn?
Yes, so you can find my book everywhere they sell books. It is available on any retail online store. But you can also reach out to me directly through our greenconsultingofficial.com page. That is where we do a lot of our work in universal leadership. And I also have an inspirational platform called It's a Lifestyle, and it's spelled a little different. So it's ISSA Live, LIVE style. And that's an inspirational platform I developed to help people through some of their difficult times. So that's where you'll see me the most day to day if you want to interact with me.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.